out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Ryan.
Right, this is where we shake hands, but you're sick, so let's just do a little pinky touch.
You want to pinky touch me? Oh, now you're going to get sick.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan.
I'm Tim.
And this is episode 25 of Dismembering Horror.
Yeah.
What is this show, Sick Tim?
Oh, God. I feel like my sinuses have been dismembered. This is a show, a podcast, where we watch some horror films and then we, quote-unquote, dismember them by talking about what worked for us and what didn't work for us and things that were interesting or noteworthy.
Exactly.
Oh my God, my voice right now.
Sounds great. And this is, I think, a milestone episode because it's 25, which is halfway to 50, which is halfway to 100. That's how we do it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Cool.
You know what? You know what I think is really scary and horrifying? Being sick.
Why?
I can't hear out of my ear right now.
You take a Claritin or whatever supposed to help with that?
I took some Mucinex DM. I don't actually remember what the DM stands for.
Should have had a nice cup of tea instead of your coffee there.
I don't think it would have made much of a difference.
Lots of honey is good for the throat.
I've been sucking down the honey and this Indian root bark something and elderberry something and all those fun things.
Good. That sounds good. Is there any business after Swamp Thing last week you want to address? New thoughts on Swamp Thing, last week's film?
Nope. Still think it sucked.
Yeah.
I didn't think it sucked. I just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Not my favorite movie.
As we said, yeah, you gave it an avoid. I gave it a stream it.
Yeah.
A happy to stream
fair.
it. Well, this is, I think, a lot to talk about today's film. So should we watch?
Yeah, we got to get into it.
Let's watch the trailer for Opera.
You are invited to enjoy an evening of terror.
Who's it? Who's there?
Terror at the Opera.
If you try to close your eyes, you'll tear them apart. So you'll just have to watch everything.
She is the captive audience. They are the unrehearsed players. Evil is the true star. And no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to close your eyes. Director Dario Argento brings fear,
Don't leave me alone. I'm afraid.
passion, obsession,
I can take you whenever and wherever I want.
and murder to a perfect pitch.
Opera.
Oh, man.
Opera. I'm so skeptical going into these Italian horror films just because, my memory of a lot of them. I went to see some in theaters, I remember, at the at the Egyptian theater here. And it's just as I said, it felt like the middle chunks of them, I always just get lost and bored, and the dubbing puts me off. And
Yeah, well, I have to say that none of that bothered me in this movie.
Ditto! This one, oh my God. Wait, what do we do for... No, the summary first, and then how we rated it. But man, this one, Tim, we talk about needing a good one after a while.
Yeah.
This did that for me.
Agreed.
Well, how would you summarize it?
All right. So, actually, where are we? Are we in Italy?
Yeah, because it they're Italians and the opera house is in Italy, at least in real life.
All right, so here we go.
The outside looked like Italy, and
Look,
but it is no. You're right with these films.
Generally
it's like,
European.
Why is everyone speaking English with American accents though?
Right. Okay, so it's Italy in the 80s, and there's an opera, and there's a diva, and there's some ravens, and she doesn't like the ravens, and so she storms out after saying the name of the opera, which is Macbeth, which is a big no-no in the theater, and she gets hit by a car. So we got to get our what's it called? The person who is the oh my
Understudy.
God. Understudy. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm the non-theater one here too.
Fuck. So we got to get our understudy, and she's this beautiful ingenue, and she's charming and a little nervous to dive into such a big role, but she does it and she crushes it. And also somebody gets killed during her performance, a stagehand. And that sets us on this murder mystery in the opera house of people getting killed and her being the subject of having to watch the preceding deaths. No, is preceding the wrong word? Probably. The following deaths.
Subsequent,
thank you. And there's a mystery, and she doesn't know why this person's doing this to her, but we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That is it. And it's just a great setting. Well, no, we don't need to get into it. That is the summary. How would we rate it? I gave this a extremely hearty rent it with an exclamation point. And then it's another one I have to amend, like, if I had money or it was like I wanted to show it to someone.
Money.
Where I like want to show it to someone, it'd be nice to just have there right there on the library.
On one of those days when you're walking down the street and you just have money falling out of your pockets.
Yeah.
Future Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just living on the extremes here, but you have to buy this. If you're a filmmaker, you have to own this movie, in my opinion. I need to own this movie.
Awesome.
So
I'm just such.
Here's how I know. How I know that I need to own this movie. In the first 10 minutes, I had to stand up to watch it. Like, I got out of my seat and like stood close to the TV.
And then I joined you by sitting on the floor because
Dude.
I was so glad this one we took. I like, we always check to see where we can watch it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, it's on Amazon streaming, but SD,
Ugh.
the dreaded $3 SD rental only. And I looked it up and I'm like, okay, there is a Blu-ray and it only came out within like the last month or so. And it's supposed to be, a big deal, all remastered and stuff. So I'm like, I'm calling the video rental stores that we have as go-tos. Let's make it happen if this is supposed to be that good. So I'm glad we did. Sorry, that's a long way to say.
It looked so good.
Yeah, gorgeous.
So I think we could very easily just go on and on.
So that constitutes ownership for you, because like
the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
for sure.
For me, rent it as in if you'd think I guess how it looks, how it's shot, as beautiful as it is, there needs to be like it's for me to buy right now. It's got to be like A+ across the board.
Sure.
And we'll get into that.
I'm. Yeah. I mean, I have things that didn't work. As much as I love this movie, they exist.
Yeah. But if I saw this on anyone's shelves, including my own someday, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's so good.
Great. We did the summary. We did how we rate it. Should we do what worked?
Yeah.
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked for you?
And Timothy Aslan,
Mm-hmm.
what worked for you?
So many things. But I think that, you can kind of start off with, oh God, there's so many places to start.
Here's what
actually.
I wrote. There's two things next to which I wrote, where do we even start? I wrote how it was shot, where do we even start? Production and art design, where do we even start?
Yeah. No, that's very true. There's, and I would actually add, for me, those two things are so sort of glaringly, obviously incredible that there's this third thing that I think took me a minute to get to, but in getting to it, realizing, holy shit, that one's so well done too, which is the thematic design. So, for example, this whole movie is thematically based around eyes and what you see.
Mm.
The whole thing. And that theme is so beautifully reinforced constantly by the first two things that you mentioned, the set design and how it's shot, that like seeing, to me, it's like you step back and you go, this is mastery. Like we're getting to watch a master do their craft.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, that's again, like why I would say buy it. It is a study in mastery over an artistic medium to me.
That's fine. The themes for me weren't so much about watching. This is a great movie when you can pick it apart different ways.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more so about being controlled to having circumstance control you, and then what it means to be human within that, as far as being able to control the situation and others and having to let yourself go to that.
Well, and I think from a, sort of a critical dramaturgical standpoint, I can support the eyes argument in a practical sense consistently.
Yeah, I think
so it's not to say that that's what it's about, or
for me that's a more motif or a theme.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a motif. That's the perfect word. That's a very college word.
Okay, well, aside from just because I'm on it, I mentioned where I was shot, production, art design, but you just made me think of something I loved about it. I didn't have down was the Macbeth thing, the thing of bad luck is being, and that's what I meant as far as the theme for me of like controlled by circumstance, and that includes like what is luck and sort of this greater unknown control that's happening.
Well, and there's also the question of like of why things happen, right? And how, you know what I mean? Like, is there causality? And from one perspective, what is causality, right? Like the murderer has his own, perspective on why. And we, the audience, spend a lot of time trying to figure out the why with the lead character, because she's trying to figure it out. But like all of that is pretty subjective, right? It's like, one person's luck is another person's, whatever, like
that's what
torment.
I guess that connects to that. The why behind it all connects to something else I loved behind it all when you're talking about the why of the motivations of the killer. Like something I loved about it was this had I don't think I'd ever seen this before, but the victim as an intentional recurring witness, where the killer is deciding not to kill them,
right,
but to have them bear witness to the murders of others. And
yeah, I mean, I think that, I feel like I've seen that in certain versions in places at times, but this really reinforces it as his thing.
Yeah.
The killer's thing is to purposefully, specifically make her watch these. I guess what it is it's sort of like usually, or a lot of the time, the killings, who's getting killed matters more, right? Like that they deserved it. In this, the people who are getting killed don't at all.
It's just because they're around her.
Right. That's right. And that's just a cool way to go about it. It's a cool, different angle.
And Betty, that's who we're talking about, is her.
Yeah, Betty. So yeah, I think breaking that, whatever you would call it, trope or the sort of a more typical construct of who gets killed and why was really cool. And I love the idea that he's, he's not only forcing her to watch it, but he's like restraining her, forcing her to watch it, and then like letting her go.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I meant.
Like cutting the rope and being like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
I'm trying to remember, what were some of his like lines or things he was saying? Like, what sort of, didn't we have little sort of snippets or esoteric clues as to like what he was maybe egging her on about, or?
Yeah, there's gotta be, but I think it gets lost a little bit
In the first time viewing.
Yeah. I'd be really hard pressed to pull out actually what he's saying. I mean, I know he does actually say, you know, I'm gonna make you watch this, and you're gonna see every part of it.
And how does he make her watch it?
Oh, the best. This is the best. This is a design thing. Like the design in this movie, all over this movie, is so fucking good. But this idea of putting needles on a piece of tape in a row and then taping them under your eye so that you can't close your eye or else you'll impale your eye or eyelid is wonderfully brilliant and evocative to me.
Yeah.
I love it. And it doesn't really matter that you kind of look at it and go, well, yeah, I mean, she could close her eye if she wanted to. But it doesn't matter that that's the case. It gives you enough of the idea for you to just be like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? And it's unsettling, right? Because you start imagining what that would be like to have a needle go through the cornea or the cornea of your eye, like that first surface, like even just scraping against the cornea. Holy fuck.
If we're trying to touch on, you know, what worked overall to it, how it was shot and the production art design. Well, how about what accomplished that for me is, you know, that identification with the victim is like the close-ups of the eyes.
So good.
The macro focus, you know, the macro shots.
I love that.
Oh my God, me too.
You know, and you've seen that in other things, like Evil Dead has it. I think, it would be Evil Dead 2, I think, has some really, really good macro close-ups of eyes, you know, flitting around. And
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is more so comes to mind for me.
Yeah, and so that's because you watched that movie all the time, and I watched Evil Dead 2 all the
actually,
time.
I watched Evil Dead all the time.
So, I love that. Like, get in your face. Yeah. It's so exciting. And when it's done well, and when it's done with sort of an added element of is this a word? Evocativeness, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know, it just, and also when it's a character that you really like. I love Betty. Like, I want to like marry Betty or be best friends with Betty. Like, the character is so appealing in so many ways because she's not just this sort of damselly, like, you know, helpless thing. She's layered, and also she's doing, they've done a thing where they take this idea of the ingenue and they actually they humanize her more. So instead of kind of overtly sexualizing her, they kind of go in the opposite direction. They're like, no, she's just a young person. And put her in young person's clothes. You know, she's wearing, you know, t-shirt and baggy pants. They're not exploiting that trope at all. And I think that really gets us to get on board with her. Yeah. In a really comfortable, it's like we're getting comfortable with her as a person. And that makes us root for her more, right? It makes us feel
her like being naturally beautiful is playing a part too, for sure. Right,
but she, you know, as beautiful as she is, she's got kind of quirkiness to her look, right? Like she has some mouth kind of like I don't know what do you call this? Like not expressions, but she's got kind of what the fuck do you call it? Like she moves her mouth in a way that is
she has personality.
It's a little goofy, and that's great.
It reminded me well, this is what we're talking about, and I had this too. Like what worked for me was the leads / the Italians, and I had basically everything that you just said about her. It reminded me of when we mentioned in Halloween how Laurie Strode, how has a natural vulnerability in the sort of the final girl way, where it's like, if we're talking in pure slasher terms, there's like the men and the woman who, for some reason, we have fun getting watched killed off, and then the one that we really want to see succeed at the end, who's most typically a young woman. And she had those final girl elements. That was a very horror movie way to sort of put what you were, I think, more putting better.
I mean, even in the one romantic sex scene, if you will, they don't, like, you don't actually see her, which I was surprised by. You don't see her fully naked, right? I don't think you see Betty's nude boobs at all in this. You see somebody else's. I forget who it is. Who is it?
Let's just consult the film here. Let's pause it.
Let's think. No, but anyway, so you do see. Oh, it's in the flashback. It's in the flashback / dream. That I think that woman's shirt gets cut open or something like that. So you do get a boob. You get your sort of requisite foreign movie boob shot. But they don't do it with the lead, and I think that's, it's nice to not sort of be like, oh, we have a really beautiful actress, and we gotta show her naked because that's what the audience wants. It's like, fuck that. No, you don't have to. That's not her character either. Like that doesn't speak to the broader, sense of what this film is about and what her character is about.
Yes.
So don't do it. Like, you don't have to show tits. You don't. Okay? Like, let's fucking move on.
And this was all a very erudite way to sort of tiptoe around the fact we were absolutely fawning about her throughout the whole film.
It's true. It's true. We're sitting there going, dude. I mean, everybody in this movie, for the most part, is really pretty.
So that's what I wanted to bring it to transition and to not be so one-sided. I also had, the men being really handsome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to break down what that was
doing. The director
doing.
is the only one who's kind of doughy looking.
Yeah. But so since this whole film is kind of an effective whodunit at the same time, there's something really fun going on when we have, I guess, who ends up being the killer is maybe the most, like, Italian, typically handsome one, strong-jawed, mannish, But what's so fun about having handsome men suspects like that is we are...
inherently distrustful of them?
Well, it's like we want them to be the protector.
Right. We've been told that they are the protector in
especially when this one
cinematic history
ends up is the cop who ends up being the bad guy. But so that's fun. So that was sort of when I thought about it, wanting the big strong man to be protect. That sounds bad saying it, but I think
No, but that's the language of storytelling in cinema 90% of the time, right? So and the idea of I really, really love when you take the trope or the standard knee jerk of, like, who's the protector? Like the police officer, he's somebody who's quote unquote supposed to protect, or the father figure, they're supposed to protect. I love it when you turn that upside down and you say, no, just kidding. Like, those people can be assholes too. Yeah. Or the worst.
Well, the most apparent and appealing thing to me personally about having the handsome male suspects is knowing, and then when it actually happens, witnessing a guy like that being absolutely crazy and manic, a maniac. Yeah. In like the ending. I mean, I don't want to skip ahead too much, but when he's had his eye gorged out by ravens and is like stark mad, to see someone who we think of it's going to be someone I don't know, scary looking or weird looking or whatever. Exactly. So to have it be strong Italian handsome man, I love that. I love that so much. Kind of like the ending of Scream. It's like the young
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that his name?
Yeah,
pulling it out of left field.
Yeah. No, it's one of those names.
But it's true because that's the world we actually live in. Mm-hmm. Right? If you look at the profiles of serial killers, there's
Ted Bundy
there's a broad range,
getting
but
played by what's his face.
That's right, Zac Efron. The ones that we often remember the most are the ones that are, oh, he was so handsome and he was so charming, and that is a quality of psychopaths.
Yeah.
Not every psychopath is handsome and charming, but
Very
a lot
often
of
charming.
them, charm is
Yeah.
the big factor.
Well, it's
because they're good at pretending to have emotion when they don't.
Well, they're good at observing and then
Right. They're
emulating.
mimics and they're, yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we do got to touch on how it was shot. This was a good string of connectivity, but sort of, I mean, where I can start with how it was shot is whatever struck me first, which was I've used this before, the sort of the freneticism of it all.
Yeah.
The amount of cuts happening, the movement of the camera, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I even said, because this uses Steadicam a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
And it in a time when I don't think Steadicam, like we had a brief conversation about when did the Steadicam come about and like where was it used initially.
Yeah, and as far as I know, it was
speaking.
Rocky was the first one going up the steps, and then it was made most famously next in The Shining.
Yeah, and those are 10 years earlier from this.
So this one,
So it'd been around, but the way it's used, and I think that I sort of realized, I think the connection to make is that the cinematic or cinematography language that is overtly used in this, you can kind of point backwards to people like Kubrick and before Kubrick, who I think the succession seems to go like this. It's like you have your Universal horror stuff, and then you have Alfred Hitchcock, and then you have Stanley Kubrick, and then you have the 80s. You know, you take a hard right into a totally different style of shit with the Wes Cravens and the what's his name, the other fucking John Carpenter. Thank you. Like that realm of slasher takes this big
right. Actually,
turn.
Halloween was the other big one
Right.
to use it. That famous opening shot.
And so, but that language, like that you know, you're living in the realm of horror. You're obviously privy to the history of horror cinema,
Yeah.
and you're pulling things from that you like, and you're doing your version of that. And this felt like that. I actually thought this movie was a 70s movie when we were watching it, and then we looked it up and we were like, holy shit, it's late 80s.
Well,
but it has that language.
Yeah, as far as it fits in the progression of all that, I could see technologically the 10 years later, like this camera was going fast compared to The
true.
Shining
You're
and
right.
everything. Like it was
Yeah.
whipping around corners, going up
Yeah.
and down staircases. That's where it entered the realm of being able to call it frenetic.
Yeah.
But then as far as like filmmakers' approach though with it, it felt for me like the technology had finally caught up with sort of his full vision of what he'd always wanted to do with filmmaking.
Dude, that crane shit, there are crane shots in this that are fucking wild.
Talk about the Raven's point of view.
Yeah.
At the, like flying around
Dude.
the opera house.
I'm, and still, like, just practically speaking, trying to kind of wrap my head around how that was executed.
It's the kind of shots done nowadays that impress us, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. They're doing it 30 years ago.
yeah.
30 years ago. Fuck, I'm old.
32.
Ugh. God.
So
That opening shot is so fucking amazing.
what was it?
It's essentially, there's a bunch of there's cut-ins to the Ravens and the Ravens' eyes. Shot. It's all about the eyes, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this long take that is of the diva
Mm-hmm.
that gets hit by the car. And we never see her face, which I think is
yeah.
so cool. And we follow her from basically behind her on stage, up over her. She walks around the stage, and it's essentially her POV.
We go over the music pit.
Yeah.
I remember. It's cool.
It wraps us over stage left, over the pit, around the pit,
Right, where it's,
up the aisle.
To clarify, it's a moment of POV. It like goes in and out of POV.
That's
for
right.
her, which was so neat.
Yeah, and so you kind of, it's almost like we are the eyes on the back of her head in that shot, because people are following her and they're talking to her and being like, no, please don't go, blah, 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 whatever. And she's like on her way out. And there's just, it's technically like really amazing to watch.
Yes.
And everybody's in performance. No, you don't feel like, I think sometimes you get these long takes that you kind of can feel that it's not been rehearsed enough.
Mm-hmm.
You see like background people kind of like doing whatever, and they're like, "Rrr." And even, I mean, I just watched Ghostbusters 2 nights ago, I think, or no, maybe it was last night. No, it was 2 nights ago. And like, there's a bunch of cuts of an extra out on the street during the like third act, and he's like doing fake running like up a like piece of the street that has broken apart, and they cut to him like 3 times, and it's just him doing this like goofy fake run.
Never noticed that.
And you're just like, what is that guy doing? Like, why? Stop it. Why didn't a fucking, AD wrangle him and go, yo, just chill, like, just stop being a goof. But anyway, I don't know why I'm getting into that. Point being, everybody's on, and everybody's like, you can't do this shot without rehearsing the living fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And it shows, like, it's so pleasing from so many different sort of sides to watch. In a way, it's like, I guess I'm seeing the shot because I'm looking for it. But even that, it's the shot is so evocative of what's happening that I think what's more impressive is the impact that the shot has. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on. It's so beautifully constructed that it's giving you this feeling that you almost, like, I almost didn't know what. That's kind of why I got up, because I was like, this is exciting, and I almost don't even know why.
So this was not the very first shot, though, because actually
no, it's not the opening shot. The opening shot is just the ravens.
So that is actually what me proverbially stand up. Like, that's what, I mean, I love that shot you're talking about, but I personally loved even more the setup of the shots of the ravens. That's when I was like, okay, this movie's legit. I am in it. There's something like super, I love animals and macro close-up shots, especially something like birds. Yep. Seeing their eyes, it just reminds you, oh, these are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And it just puts you in that.
It's primal.
Yeah, it puts you in that place. God, I loved it so much.
Well, and I mean, this, like, ravens and crows are like my favorite animal.
Yeah.
Like, so much so that I, like, there's a lot of them that live outside of my apartment. There's a tree that they are just all fucking hang out in. And, like, when I go out on my little patio and, like, have coffee in the morning, they're on the telephone wire poles, around me. And I see them so much that I've named them.
Yeah, I know.
They're all named Dave because there's so many of them. It's like,
these
how do you
are the
name
Daves
each
I
one?
know. I know. These are the Daves I know.
Yeah, so it's like every time I see one, it's like, hey, Dave. So, but they're so fascinating to me, and I'm not even sure why.
They have an intelligence that's sort of, like, talk about, let's get to that, the ending.
That's right.
They're the heroes.
Yes, exactly. And you like, that's the thing that's like taking things and horror film, like, look, horror films at their core are pointing at primal aspects of our psyche and trying to kind of stir that up. Mm-hmm. And so it's just such smart storytelling to take things that are inherently primal, like ravens, and have them be an integral part of the story, and then taking it kind of one step further story-wise of saying, like, well, what is it about them, what at least one aspect about them that's really fucking fascinating and helpful to our story. And it's the fact that ravens and crows are able to have facial recognition.
And what is a threat.
Right, which is a crazy thing to think about, right? Like, they've done these experiments where they've essentially what this movie does.
So what are we talking about here? Hopefully you watched it, but
Right.
this is...
We're talking about the fact that the solve of finding out who the killer is because the killer was already seen by the Ravens when he broke in and he killed 3 of them. The director says, I have a plan. We're gonna figure out who the killer is by like releasing the Ravens mid-performance, and they will find him because they'll recognize his face and they'll go after him, and then we'll know who our killer is.
And boy, did they.
And that's fucking awesome because you know, like I'm saying, you're taking a really fascinating aspect of these animals and you're using that in your story to solve the entire movie.
I mean, I love it for, yeah.
Jinx!
All the obvious reasons, but like, I think what just tickles me so hard about it is imagining the perspective of the killer, the inspector, thinking like, oh, these birds found me out and are clawing my eye. There's something so satisfying about that.
Yeah, clawing his eye out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He got his comeuppance for sure.
Yep. Yeah, God, there's so many layers to why this is good. And you could I feel like this is one of those movies where you can kind of just, like, it's like the phone, like you can open the phone book and flip through the pages and slam your finger down wherever, and you could find why that's good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever you're pointing at.
What just came to mind when you said that for me was the setup of knowing there was someone in the vent watching her and assuming it was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then it's just a little girl who actually ends up saving the day and has an abusive mother. So she spies on her neighbors.
Right. Which, again, thematically, I'll beat this drum. It's about what you see, right? And who sees what from what perspective. You know, this little girl is spying on, I just did air quotes, is spying on her. She's watching her, right? Like, it's about those things and about like why we're fascinated with other people's lives, right? You can go down that sort of pathway of thematics of like why the ingenue is so adored by everybody. Why, you know what I mean? So like, we're all watching these things, and it's about what we see and the importance of that from whatever perspective we're pointing at. And I just think like how well that wraps around like this whole murder mystery in like this lovely fucking blanket of theme or motif is just fucking awesome. It's in every little aspect of the film.
Yeah.
I love that. That to me is like, it's so satisfying when a writer and director are able to put that together and reinforce it over and over and over again. And not in a fucking way that's like, hey, look at this. Look. It's just there. And it feels good. And you don't have to think about it. I like thinking about it, but you know, if you want to just watch this movie and enjoy this movie, you can. You will like absorb that subconsciously.
Yeah.
And it has a positive effect on you, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very excited.
Well, just looking at more of my notes for how it was shot, where do we even start? The freneticism. So I mentioned that, but what like really took me aside from that is when you know how to balance that freneticism with the opposite of that. So the example that came to mind for me that I wrote down was during, I mean, you can call this how it was shot as well as just pacing. But there's a moment that just sort of simply showed us the grandeur of the opera house from kind of the point of view of the stage, where we just sort of floated up and like took in the opera house and kind of then floated back down. That was just like, this place is gorgeous. I'm here. This is all just gorgeous. I want to bathe in this. Yeah.
I think that there's something to shooting that stuff with a wide lens. I don't know why it feels so good.
Yeah, well,
but it does. You almost fisheye it. And there's something really pleasing. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we've seen it a lot.
I think it's the amount of detail you're receiving.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it makes me think of like shots, especially for some reason, shots of theaters. And I think theaters are, you know, often built to be ornate and beautiful, and
And you probably don't get more beautiful than old Italian opera houses.
Right. I mean, every time I go to a theater, I usually find myself staring at the ceiling, because there's usually some sort of
There's some neat ones here in
cool
LA.
design, right?
The Ace Hotel, the Pantages, all that.
Right. And so capturing that and translating it on, in a way that is pleasing is awesome, because you see that shot all the time. Not that particular shot, but you see wide shots of the inside of theaters from certain angles a lot. And I don't know what a good example is, but like Black Swan probably does it. And,
Yeah.
Like The Last Waltz probably does it. So shit like,
Music documentary.
right. But I think it's a part of being in those spaces.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like when I go there, that's a thing I do. So knowing that as the director and saying, oh yeah, we need to show this. Mm-hmm. And we need to show it in a way that is, like you're saying, you're getting all of the information. It's
the
pleasing.
grandeur.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. Cool. We enjoyed this film.
Yep.
I guess I can get on more specifics here. Just pick one, unless you have one that's on your precipice.
Oh.
Setting up the police officer at the beginning, the inspector as a fan, and him as a suspect.
Yes.
I'm just like, well, looking back at it, I'm like, he should have been a prime suspect, but for some reason, it was just done in that perfect way where it hides itself in sort of that the first 10 pages of a movie when you're getting to know the situation and the characters, where you think, oh, this is just us getting to know the characters versus necessarily this is a prime suspect, watch for him. Like, I'm like, the writing should have been on the wall, but something about it hit it so well.
I totally agree. Like, in hindsight, you look at the scene that he's introduced, and it couldn't be more fucking obvious. First of all, why is he there? Right? Like, why is this inspector there?
Yeah.
In the first place.
Well, that was sort of one of
the
those...
murder hadn't happened
That was
yet.
one of those questions.
It had during the performance.
There was enough hubbub and activity where we just sort of gathered that, okay, there's stuff going on that we don't know, and that's fine.
Yeah, or that, this is a big deal, and it's a town where everybody shows up to the opera.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
but
like
the fact
like
that
the mayor showing up,
yeah,
the inspector
but
shows up.
He gets backstage and asks for an autograph, and then there's this shot, again, of him spying on her, where he's gotten her autograph, he leaves, and Betty's boyfriend comes in, and they're talking, and she kind of looks out of the corner of her eye, and like there's a long shot of him in the background. He's kind of behind. There are people like crossing frame or whatever. He's kind of back there, and he's giving her the fucking creep eye,
right?
And she's like, "Ooh, that guy's creepy."
It's
like, wait, you just called the whole movie right there,
right? Yet somehow, maybe it was just so. It's like put it out right in front so we don't suspect it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was that balance was handled so well.
Well, and also there are other people that are like, we're like, oh, that guy's kind of good.
Yeah, the director.
The director, even the boyfriend.
The boyfriend, I was just like, this is the older brother from Home Improvement. He died. I forgot about him. But that's how I remembered him in it. You know what I mean?
That's actually that would be hilarious.
He's got that hair.
The same character
He
or the same actor.
Looked like him to me.
That dude, that actor, I forget his name now, but
Home Improvement's not that old. It wasn't the same actor.
I know. He used to come into the bar that I worked at in New York. And it was always such a weird thing because he's like, you see him as an adult and you're like, wait, I know this guy.
And you
say, shit. Oh, God. I bet that kid fucking hates that. I would hate that. Anyway, he's a nice dude. I forget his name.
Little moment I loved so much that I'm like, don't forget this, Ryan. It was when it's we're with the killer watching a TV screen of her and the knife is scraping against the glass of the TV screen of the image of her. It's like, why hadn't I seen this before? I don't think I have, but it's so just sort of good and obvious to do.
And they get the sound right.
Yes.
Where it's like, it's just enough to make us go, no, please stop doing that.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It
Exactly.
hurts my ears.
But just that's so loaded, just sort of the knife against her image like that.
The visual too. I remember during that shot thinking, why does this look so good?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what it is. There's something about how it's lit or composed that, or all of the above, that felt hyper real and also unreal at the same time. I really don't know what that is. It may be just sort of the nature of putting something metal in front of a TV screen that creates sort of a weird a weird contrast of an image within an image and
I think
real
that's
thing.
it. The image within an image.
Yeah,
it does a lot.
I just was like,
Because we think of looking at a TV or a screen as, okay, here is a vision of reality. So to do one more step removed from
Right.
that, it has that effect.
yeah, it was cool. It felt very 80s to me.
Well, at first,
in a good way.
when you were saying that, the what did you say? Hyper real yet real? What did
Like
you say? Something like
unreal.
that? That sort of seems like a good summation of the appeal of these Italian horror films. They
Yeah.
they get at that.
Yeah, man. It's just so cool to me.
I loved the.
I don't know why.
Talk about how it looked. I love her apartment and the built-in bed and the furniture, the wood of it. Oh yeah, and we should point out if you watched Planet of the Vampires with us or listened to it, the colored orbs were the same color of that like pastel green red.
Well, and I mean, I don't want to go too down the fucking, what do you call it? Down the rabbit hole of color in this movie, but it's all about red and green.
Yeah.
And it's constantly
but not in a
reinforced.
Christmassy way.
No, it's so good. Essentially, my takeaway was most of the time there's so much red in this movie, and I think that's a pretty standard thing for the Giallo films,
Yeah,
right? Like
blood
red
is certainly
blood.
present.
But there are red curtains everywhere, and there's red lights everywhere, and there's one of my favorite moments is we've set up times early on where you've got red lights. So, for example, in her bedroom, right after right after her boyfriend has been killed, she goes back to her apartment. She gets picked up by the director, which is sketchy as fuck. He just happens to be there and he picks her up. But they go back to her apartment, and, this is just good fucking filmmaking. You go back to the apartment with the person that you suspect could be the killer, and she's in her safe space with him, and there are two lights that we've established early on. There's a green light and a red light in her room, and the green light is off and the red light is on, and we don't know whether or not this guy is safe. So we're just suggesting, as the filmmaker's just making the suggestion. Even though this is a safe space, green being safe, red being dangerous, we've turned off the green light.
And then that was set up for later. What was the moment where it was flashing between the two?
Right. That's right. So later on, we're in the same apartment, and it's the sequence where the cop has come to sort of be there to protect her, but she's put eye drops in, and so she doesn't actually see the person who walks in claiming to be the cop to protect her. And she has also invited her manager over to figure out to talk about shit and whatever to make her feel safer. And they both realize that the cop who was downstairs might not be the guy who's in the apartment, and they confirm this, right? And so they run and they get into, I think it's the kitchen, maybe it's another room, and there's a big window out there with blinds on it, but there is flashing of green light alternating with more of a purple, but it's essentially a pinkish red, and it's alternating, and that's exactly what's going on in the character's situation right there. They don't know if they're safe or if they're in danger, and it's a really basic thing. But it's so fucking effective because I assume that we subconsciously as humans this is why it exists in film, right? We just subconsciously get it.
Yeah.
I mean, to take, a thing that I love, this is done in Spider-Man Homecoming. In the moment, spoiler alert, in the moment that they reveal who...
Could just say the bad guy. I haven't seen it.
Okay, so they reveal who the bad guy is. And in that moment, when the bad guy realizes that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, he's driving a car and he pulls up to a red light and it goes from green to red. I think it goes from green to red. So you think you're safe and then it goes to red in that moment. And you see that change on his face as the light changes from green to red. And you go, uh-oh, even just subconsciously you go. So this is a device that's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
But it's consistently effective when done. Well, I guess when done right. Everything's consistently effective when it's done right. But the way that they're doing it in this movie, or that Argento is doing it, it's just on that fucking perfect surface of subtle yet effective.
I agree. And you had started you had set up that situation of her in her apartment and the killer coming over. That all was my favorite kill and sort of sequence.
It is
I think.
amazing. Oh, and how does the manager get killed?
Right, that was my favorite kill.
Through the eye.
So when
it's all about the eye.
When she let him in, who ended up being the policeman.
That's right.
You were like, oh, this is where it kind of lost me. She's stupid here, blah blah blah.
Oh, that's right.
I guess you were wrong in that. I mean, it doesn't change her non-hesitation, or but
yeah, we'll get to that.
But something about once that had happened, because I was doubting that you said that, I'm like, maybe that is the police officer though. Like,
right.
I was doubting everything. So it was like, I was genuinely wasn't sure if it was the killer or not when it was the killer was trying to get through the door and kind of like loosely showing the ID.
Yeah.
And then, so that way when he shoots her through the doorway, through the peephole, that was just one of those like, like the genuine moments for me.
And also, one of those great kills where you know it's going to happen about a third of a second before it happens.
Yes.
You go, bang, and it happens. It's so good.
Yeah.
That shot, I was talking with my friend last night about this. There is a wide shot. So you go from that super, super magnified close-up of the bullet actually traveling through the peephole.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you even explain that. It's almost a microscope. It's like the camera's inside the side of the peephole, and you see the bullet. The bullet is full frame.
Yeah.
And it's slow-mo moving through the peephole, and then it goes back to regular speed, I think, and shoots out, and you get the squib on the girl's eye, and that blows up. But then they cut to a slow-mo shot of a wide down the hall. So the construction of the shot is really fantastic. So foreground, you have Betty reacting to the shot, like the gun going off. This is all in slow-mo. She has just pulled the phone into the hallway, and she, I think, is holding it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one shot, you get 3 squibs, which is amazing. You get the squib of the door of the actual peephole blowing up. You get a squib on the back of the head of the manager who's just been shot. So you see her hair kind of blow up. And then you get a squib inside the phone, blowing the phone up. Mm-hmm. That all happens in one take, in shot, in slow motion. And the phone blows up in such a way that it, like, a big piece of it floats through the air and lands, like, in the foreground.
Yeah.
And Betty kind of collapses to the ground. That, like, I'm thinking, first of all, constructing that visually is amazing. Just coming up with that, we're basically putting the camera at the end of where the bullet would presumably hit. And we're watching it travel towards us. And we have 4 things that mark in sequence the traveling of the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome. But also the idea that they got it in that take, it amazes me. It makes me feel like they were like, well, let's just give it a shot, and whatever we get, that's it. We're not doing this again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just...
I'm sure it's like, no, has to be as great as it can be.
Yeah,
you know?
well, that's what I wonder, like whether or not it's one of those moments where you go, we've only got one go at this, and it just
serendipity
worked.
was on their side.
Or if they did that 20 times. And my
Yeah.
guess is more to the former, but maybe not.
I think more it's like he did it 30 times. All right,
Maybe I'm romanticizing it.
We should get to the wrap up the ending I want to talk about here. At first, like, you could sort of call it the case of multiple endings. So it's like the Raven finding the guy, calling him out, and then the showdown between just her and him when it gets set on fire.
Locked in the room,
they're in. And then the epilogue where he comes back yet again. So it was kind of during when the first one didn't end up being the actual ending, I was kind of like indifferent to it still going. But as soon as like, I guess I started then perking back up again once I realized, oh, this is great because we finally are getting this sort of final showdown between them, and with it getting set on fire. So like, I was down for that, and I was at this point still genuinely didn't know if she was going to live or not throughout this whole time. Like, I'm like, oh, he could. This is it. He's got her now. And then the actual epilogue where it's like, we think it could be the possible happy ending, but he's still free. I love that the reveal of like showing how he faked his death. The bad guy. What's his name? Mark. Inspector Alan Santini.
Right.
Alan.
Should have known.
Yeah. So Alan faking his death. That is his real name. It was like, oh my God, he's still there, and it kept up that energy of that twist of like the director yelling out to her, run as fast as you can, kind of thing. And then just that whole sequence playing out, her running and booking it, and then the killer's there running after her, who's obviously Alan is obviously faster than her, and then like a quarterback, the guy, then the director coming to like knock him down. And then she finally then is the one who like, with a rock, right?
Yeah.
Beats him
she
up.
has to fool him first and sort of prey on his own psychosis by not being the like, please don't kill me.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm into you. Let's go.
Right.
So
anyway, you hear my voice. I loved all that.
Yeah.
It was something about the idyllic setting getting interrupted too, where like I was actually, for all I knew, it was this nice little idyllic epilogue. Like I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, and I love this subtle little moment of the of the housekeeper carrying something like precariously.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of see her and she's like, I'm going to put this over here. And they're like, okay. And then she like a few moments pass and then you hear a crash. And Betty kind of goes, oh, I knew that was going to happen. And then I guess almost stupidly didn't think anything of it until a couple moments later when they're saying, the killer's on the loose. I'm like, well, of course, the housekeeper just obviously got fucking killed, and that's what that was.
Where it should be obvious, and I think why what works is because we want her to have that idyllic ending so bad. We want that bad.
Yeah, because she really has been put through the ringer.
Yeah. And then the actual ending of her letting the reptile free, the lizard free. That was kind of just one of those, like, okay, this is a full, I don't know, it gives you something to chew on. It was just so good. I loved it.
It made me kind of go, she might have lost it. Like, we don't know. You can take it a bunch of different ways.
For me, it was like she's made it to the other side. Like, when you have that sort of attention to something that she's obviously just caring for an animal in that moment, taking in the flowers. That's not someone losing it to me. That's someone who's now, as I said, came out the other side.
Yeah. I think it's purposefully ambiguous.
Yeah.
I think you could look at that and go, she has, well, yes, she has come out the other side, but the other side is her just being like, I'm done with humanity.
And see, this is us putting our own projection on
Right.
it, but I'm interpreting as, she's seeing it again for the first time.
Right. Whereas I'm saying I think there was hints of, you could take this as this experience has basically brought her to, like, it's broken her enough to be like, I can only look at the world. I don't even know how to
With fresh
describe it.
eyes again is what I
Kind
see
of,
it.
but in a she is dissociated from humanity.
But like, what else is she doing there? Like, it was like one of those situations.
I mean,
where
just in
if
practical
you're so
context,
shocked,
this whole experience happens, and in that moment, she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna lay down with these flowers." That to me is a little bit of the like, she's rejecting.
Well, for me,
she's rejecting what she's just been through, and been like, "No."
It's like, what do you do when you if you're going through some sort of traumatic, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the other side or not, life or death situation. When you make it to that light at the end of the tunnel, what do you do except bask in it?
Sure. No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying I think the filmmakers were, that there is ambiguity in that, left for the audience to decide how they want to see where her state of mind is in that moment.
her just reveling in the moment aside, her setting the lizard free was just very, again, that's why I take the greater overall theme being that sense of control and power is how I was mostly interpreting all this.
Yeah.
So, but loved that. And the very last thing I had, unless you have something else, was what put this movie from like great, there are all these great moments in it, but like what put the movie into like where I could get into the mindset and mood of viewing it as great, in all capitals great, was those, I guess, the dream sequence esoteric cutaways of this like brain kind of like heart, like organ.
Yeah.
And it was just so surreal.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you what that was, but it was there and it was intentional.
Yeah.
But it just really brought it up to that other level for me, that when I was watching it and imagining without it, I wouldn't have been in the same sort of, myself vulnerable place.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that shit. It's
Right.
so good.
You reminded me of that earlier when you said dream sequence, and then I'm like, oh, that's what I wrote down. I'm like, oh, right, that I had to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a cool little addition. It's such a good device, too. It's like, if you want to get the audience that much more kind of viscerally on board with the experience that a character is having, find some sort of cutaway, almost graphic thing to that speaks to that.
Right. Well,
it could be anything.
It's like what I've brought up
theoretically.
kind of in previous, things that work for me in other films, but as being presented with something. I'm trying to think of what the other example was. I think it was just happened last episode, where it was like, you can't assign meaning to that, yet it's there.
Sure.
It's a beyond logic presence and thing, puts us in that. That's what puts you in the vulnerable somewhere else state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Great. Do you want to see if there was any not good stuff in this? What didn't work for
Yeah.
us?
I mean, Jesus, we just talked for an hour about
Let's do it.
what worked.
did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
I
I didn't have much. If you want to.
I don't really have much. I think that, like you had mentioned it, there are a couple character logic moments where it just made me go, you're pushing it on whether or not I'm, like I think I said, the willing suspension of her stupidity, where I was like, I don't believe that this character, who I think is not dumb, would put herself in this situation at this point in the story.
The only one that sort of gave me any pause in this And it wasn't so much of like it was a stupid decision, but more just so I couldn't understand or I felt like I'd missed something with the character motivation. But it's after the one of those first attacks, she goes out to the payphone and calls the police. And when they ask who is this, she hangs up and like goes to work or whatever. And I couldn't figure out why she was so reticent to keep this all secret and to have it be anonymous.
Me neither, but I wonder if there's a purposeful clue in it.
Right, and then I wondered...
It's like a distrust of authority kind of thing.
Which then I wondered, it's like, did she suspect this fan from the get-go?
Even instinct-wise.
Yeah.
Right? Like subconscious instinct-wise.
So
maybe.
I wondered... It was if that could just actually, now seeing it a second time, if that would hold up and sort of like, no, she's actually smarter than us. She's suspecting the inspector in a way we don't. But as far as experiencing it for a first time, that just jilted me a little bit.
Yeah. The other big thing for me, and maybe this is just I don't know. Well, I guess if I'm wondering this, then it is a problem because I was going to say maybe I just need to watch it again, but you shouldn't have to with something as big as the motivation of the killer was really obtuse to me, even when they explained it. I had to go like look up the plot and look at really specifically what was going on. And apparently, and I didn't really get this, so he was a lover of her mother, which even the lover...
Oh, yeah, he's like, you look just like her.
Right, so even the lover part I didn't quite get.
And that's what I was trying to remember earlier when I'm like, what was he saying to her? What was that? Yeah.
So if I understand it correctly, he was a teenage lover of her mother who was basically a psychopath, serial killer, that would have him kill women in front of her, the mom. And the dream or memory that Betty has is as a child looking through a doorway and watching him with the black mask on kill one of these women for her mom. And that's what the memory is. That was not clear to me. It was clear that the event happened, but kind of the deeper what the fuck is going on didn't ever get through to me.
That for me is like,
I'm not sure.
I could say the words.
Shouldn't it matter?
I could say everything you just said, and I could have put that in what worked for me. I don't want or need that uber clear motivation.
I think what doesn't work for me about it is that I don't know what to think of it.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm just so like feeling based, I got that there was something there, and like I was picking up on those clues when they were there, but I'm like, it was so aside the point of what I was enjoying on a first viewing.
I think my problem is that when you have a murder mystery, like one of the probably the primary reason that I like true crime and I like mysteries is the idea of finding and understanding why somebody would do something so awful and peeling that apart. That's what's fascinating about it.
At least
to me.
Being given things to pick apart. Like what's scary is you can't actually get to the end answer.
True. But yes, being able to sort of theorize about it is exciting to me.
This is reminding me of our differentiation on the love for like Ju-on. The Grudge movies, where like the one that we watched, where it was like there's so little, there's the story set up, but then it's sort of non-sequential. It's in order, but it's sort of like doesn't go to one another. I don't know, and I'm just like, yeah, but it's all so cool.
I want answers. I think more often,
which I still recommend watch the follow-up Ju-on.
Oh yeah, I haven't done that
more.
Yet. So the third and only other thing I have is I just didn't love the epilogue.
Oh, I had that in what worked, so we differ there.
And that's why I didn't say anything. There are pieces of it that I love, but I don't know, maybe it's just of the time. It tipped too far into almost melodrama for me. And I think maybe that's a product of like watching two people run, goofily around this setting. It just the way that particular sequence was shot, I was like, it felt too corny. Here's
like where given that context, I think why it was still able to work for me is like it was such a sort of jump in setting to all of a sudden be there.
And I get why.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Like it was great for me to actually sort of feel like, oh, we almost reached this sort of like fantasy realm.
Yeah.
With and then to have that be not safe.
Right.
Like I was on board.
I dig that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost just kind of the chase scene that I thought was
the running after
looking. Where he's in his leather jacket and he's goofy running and
there's
she's
something
kind
about
of slow running, and I was like,
it's true. I think like Argento, his strengths are able to shine much more indoors,
shoot this like Tobe Hooper shot Texas Chainsaw, the chase in the woods, and I'd be 1,000% on board.
So this was actually sort of more tracking with them from afar.
Correct.
And then Texas Chainsaw was sort of weird, just planted on a tripod, and Dolly's like in the action.
Yeah, and there are handheld shots in Texas Chainsaw, like running alongside,
and it goes on
looking
and
at feet. A lot
a
of
third
low,
of the movie.
Yeah, a lot of low to the ground sort of tracking. If that had been because that actually feels more like the rest of this movie.
There was something with a little distanced perspective.
Yeah,
that
which maybe the choice was to do it that way to get what you're saying, the effect of like this epilogue is could actually be a dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It has this kind of like
it felt more that way. Yeah.
Right. So in a more specific moment thing to wrap this up, her solution of I'm gonna say I'm with you right after he's killed the director out in the mountains, her being like, oh no, it's okay, let's go off together, that it didn't feel grounded enough in a like she is using his story, like what his belief system, against him and getting the upper hand. It felt kind of surfacey, and I think the reason is because I didn't have enough of why he was doing it in the first place for her to use that against him.
Yeah, for me it just stepped into the fear for me was coming from the Michael Myers, fear, a relentless force of just, this guy's crazy. I didn't need to know his, actual motivations for why he was crazy. It was just that crazy non-logic was coming at me and I couldn't stop it.
Sure. So here's an example of what I mean done, not necessarily great, but done in this, it's the same construct in Red Dragon,
the sequel,
which is not a great movie, but there's this whole thing of why the killer, I don't remember his name, Ray Fiennes.
Yeah, I saw this in theaters.
So the killer has a psychological thing that they are picking apart the whole movie, right? They're trying to figure out what is motivating him because they're looking for the killer. They're profiling him. And they realize that he most likely was badly abused and shamed by his mother, I believe, probably. And that's the profile. And so in the moment when he's in the finale in the house and he has grabbed the main guy, Ed Norton's son, and Ed Norton starts scolding and shaming the son for peeing his pants, and that's the solve to get to disarm the killer. That's enough. Like that feels good to me because it shows that the main character used their knowledge and their sort of smarts to disarm the bad guy. And in Opera's version of that, it wasn't quite deep enough for me to feel pleased by it. That's all. It just was sort of on the surface. It's like she used the most basic thing of like, oh, no, it's cool. I'll go with you. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I wanted a little bit more meat.
That could have been a more sort of
moment.
like, we could have had that set up subtly.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is I don't think you could use, I think you would normally use his backstory and her knowledge of discovering why he's doing it in the first place to support that
She was
moment.
exploiting, if she reminded him of her mother, she was exploiting that
Yes,
relationship.
that's exactly it. So it didn't quite reach that thing in that moment for me.
Yeah.
Other than that, other than those three things I just mentioned that are all basically, well, I guess the first one is earlier on, but mostly the epilogue. This movie is, fucking...
You buy it.
Don't worry about those things.
I loved it so much. It was a testament to how the dubbing, didn't
How is that possible?
detract.
How is it possible
Yeah,
that this
I
whole
did-
movie is dubbed and it
Right.
did not bother me at all?
Here's the thing. It didn't bother me, but like I still had to put this in what didn't. It's not that it didn't work. It's just that there's the part of me that like still wishes so bad it wasn't dubbed, because then it could have just been that much better.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean it was detracting, but it's just sort of the what could have been gnawing.
Yeah.
That was there for me.
Yeah, okay.
And then this is nothing specific, except I sort of have to give an example. And maybe this is, again, the kind of thing where it's like these A+ movies a lot of the times aren't A+ movies the first time I see them. But like, this was for me moments of greatness, A+ moments, but it wasn't for me like, like the great ones like The Shining or whatever, where it's just like literally every scene is just... every scene is just stellar, is that A+. Like, it just, at least again on a first viewing, didn't quite have that level. But I will say, I want to see it again. I would watch it again, and maybe that will change next time I do.
Yeah. Cool,
Things of
dude.
note.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
I like how a lot of times our sections there end when we transition to the music with this little giggle from you, this little laugh. You'll hear it.
Why do I giggle at everything? Yeah, well,
Because everything's
so
funny.
be it.
And,
Because I just love life so much, even though I'm sick.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of getting sick, I thought it was noteworthy that I got sick during the Ravens' point of view at the end. That shot that I said was so
really?
good. Like when it was just spinning around,
It kind of made
circles.
you dizzy?
Yeah, exactly. I was getting a little nauseous during that.
Cool.
Noteworthy.
I love Ravens. There are a couple really cool things just in terms of people who are involved with this. So the director, the guy who plays the director, remember I was sort of like, he's familiar and blah, blah, blah. He's in one of my favorite movies of all time. He's in Chariots of Fire.
Oh.
And he plays a character that I love. I forget the
That
name
is
of
a
the actual
very
character.
Tim movie.
I love that. And like my dad was a marathon runner and my brother was a runner, and like I was never really into running personally, but like I appreciate it and it's sort of nostalgic, and like my dad was the person to show me Chariots of Fire. I was like, check this out, it's based on real shit. So yeah, that guy, his name is Ian Charlson. Yeah, he's in Chariots of Fire and he's fucking great, and that's a great movie. Also, Brian Eno
Yeah.
did the music, partially, which is really cool.
The music we didn't mention, but that honestly is usually a testament to how good it was.
It's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only-
There are a bunch of things, honestly, like we can't mention everything,
Yeah, exactly.
like that are amazing about this movie.
This I want to mention this. I'm sure you probably have this too, but like talking about the epilogue, I thought it was interesting that, the when trying to make the international version, meaning the American cut of it. They wanted to, the studio or whoever wanted to cut the epilogue, but Argento refused to let them do that and release it. So I'm thankful for that.
That whole thing, that happens, or maybe, I don't know if it still happens as much, but it used to happen so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Legend, the movie Legend.
Yeah, the two
Ridley
cuts
Scott,
of that.
like the two cuts of that. If you can get your hands on the UK version of that with the UK score.
No, that's on DVD, like the release of DVD.
I have
both.
it. Yeah, so watch that version if you haven't yet, because it is a completely different movie.
The different score is a big
The
part.
score, it turns, I mean, it's not that it's not already a fantasy movie, but it really, really turns it into this epic fairy tale with that score.
Yeah.
Not the Toto score. Don't get me wrong.
Tangerine Dream.
I love... Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Tangerine Dream did the score?
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean the American score.
Wait, I'm confusing them now. I thought the original score was Tangerine Dream.
I think you're
then
right.
And then the original score was an actual
wait a minute.
score.
We gotta look it up. Music. Fuck. Hang on.
No. We aren't here to talk about Legends.
God damn
Tim.
it. Anyway, it's an actual music score. Is the original.
Yeah.
In the American version, it's like rock and roll score.
That's with the Tangerine Dream one, yeah.
There you go. Oh, Toto did Dune. Never mind.
No, it was Jerry Goldsmith did the actual
Cool.
score.
So, point being, it pisses me off when studios or execs or whoever are like, no, change your movie. Fuck you. No, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Don't tell a director to change the fucking movie for an audience.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Or no, it's not even for an audience. It's just for like, oh, well, if we're able to say it's this much shorter, then...
Yeah, it's for some
then
bean counter
statistically,
bullshit.
Yeah.
Fuck
bean
off.
counter BS. Exactly.
All right.
That's all I had for things of note.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more. There's I think just get into Argento and look, if you feel like it. It's really worth looking into the collaborations that he had with other filmmakers and other people in making their films, because they were a large family of artists making shit, and they all helped each other out. There's guys like actually the cop who gets killed, who's uncredited, he was like Argento's first AD. And he worked on all sorts of other films, including ones with like Mario Bava's son. Mm-hmm. And Argento like co-wrote those with it. Like Bava's son, Argento, this AD, like all these people were working together on different shit, and they made a lot of fucking amazing stuff.
I love the family affair of filmmaking.
It's awesome. Build your family. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like good shit comes out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all I got too.
Great. Then how about our recommendations?
Ooh, shit. Do I have one? Oh yeah, I do. Sorry.
Yeah.
I do this a lot, I guess. I was looking at our former recommendations. This will be like the fourth time I've recommended a podcast. But it's a CBC, which is a Canadian broadcast.
Yeah.
What's the third?
Corporation.
Corporation, thank you.
Unless it's company and I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's one or the other, probably. It's called Someone Knows Something. And David Ridgen, I believe, is the host, journalist's name. And it's really fucking well done. And it's true crime stuff, but it's all cold cases. And
what makes it different from like other true crime ones?
That they're Canadian. There's a lot of boots.
Okay.
No, I don't know exactly. There's something really pleasing about Ridgen and his research and just his demeanor and how he goes about this. He's really empathetic and really like seemingly just really kind dude, but like he wants to help the people who are sort of left behind of this, whatever the horrible thing that happened was.
Yeah.
And I think that's what comes across the most is him, you know, his compassion, I guess, for being like, we can't let this go.
Yeah.
So it's really worth it. Be prepared when you listen to it, and they make sort of warnings in it too. There is some stuff that it's hard to listen to at times. So, you know,
but it's being presented as information.
But yes. But like there's like in the last season I listened to, there's a 911 call that they play and they warn you beforehand, but it's upsetting.
It's sort of like, why does that appeal to us? There's a catharsis in truth.
Yeah, it's hard. There's some hard stuff in it, but I think it's important because like a big part of it, and like this, you know, I've seen this a lot lately, sort of surrounding the Ted Bundy stuff and how that's, you know, people are like jumping on board with the documentary that's out on Netflix and the Zac Efron thing, and you know, Billy, I forget his last name, but an investigative reporter who covers a lot of serial killers. He has posted a lot about, remember, like, why these stories are out there, like that, like many, many women have been killed, right? Like, let's not forget that that's way more important than profiling the killer.
Right.
You know, so don't forget that. And I feel like Ridgen, I think I'm saying his name right, the CBC guy, he has the same attitude about it. It's more about the impact that these, you know, terrible,
never forgetting the memory of the victims.
Yeah, and that's important. And so I really like, I appreciate the work he's doing, and they are very compelling stories. And
yeah,
you know, if you're into that stuff, he's a good one to go after. So Someone Knows Something, it's called.
I'd like to recommend Dead, a new film, the new Lars von Trier film, Love It or Hate It, The House That Jack Built.
Oh,
I know
wait,
you would.
I thought you said that already. Maybe you just said it to me.
I just had said it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's
I really
want to
see it.
So I have friends, you know, who are into his other films who are like, I don't know, you know, it's just kind of boring for me. But like the first, it's segmented into the chapters. The first one, I was kind of like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. But then like the second one, I was on board. And then the whole movie, you're like, where's this going? And where it went, I felt like it's either going to lose you entirely, or do it for you, which it did for me. And I have to recommend Dead It, because it's the kind of movie where it's like, feels like I'm outing myself somehow when it's something that's just so deplorable and disgusting. How could I even enjoy it? But it's because it felt like a real, you know, artistic piece from this person. It felt honest from him, you know. Yeah. The filmmaker, as messed up as, you know, if you want to call it that, it's honest. And I don't know, that's, for me, that's hard to like just purely blanket assign messed up to something when there's some kind of, I don't know. Yeah, there's something to it. And I just feel like I have to recommend Dead It, because out of films I saw this year, it's the only one that I've kind of been something about the feeling it's given me has well, I keep coming back to it.
Cool.
And talking about the kind of horror of well, in the case of the metaphor in this film, like being trapped in our own you know, house of our making, of our own making, that film is it's that for a messed up serial killer guy.
Oh shit.
And Matt Dillon is just, he's great.
You know, this is so tangential. There was a time when I was at home, I was probably in my early 20s or whatever, and I was watching the Actor Studio thing with Lipton, and he was
inside the Actor Studio.
Yeah. He was interviewing Matt Dillon, and Matt Dillon had like a little goatee. And my mom came down the stairs and she was like, "Tim, what? You're on TV." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh, wait. No, that's not you."
What?
She thought Matt Dillon was me. I was like, I don't look anything like this
That's
guy.
one of those just like brain break and then don't stop to think about it.
Yeah,
like,
it was hilarious.
And there's a director's cut and a non-director's cut. I was lucky to see the director's cut like at a screening in LA. There were sort of a one night across the world screenings of it. I don't know which one is the one you should see. I don't know the differences, but I mean, I guess based off of where we are just coming from, always go for the director's cut if it's actually a director's cut.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Great. Well, it's my turn.
It sure is.
To pull from this baseball cap for next week's
Oh,
film.
I think there's other stuff in there I may have left in that hat by accident.
Oh, like you
Like my-
put in an old one?
No. I mean, like
Dirty socks?
Oh yeah, I threw a necklace in there.
Dude, Tim, how weird. We've been pulling these ones pretty on point. We were literally just talking about this before this episode.
Holy shit.
You said it was one you liked, and I said it was one that was recommended by Stephen King. It's the 2009 remake of The Last House on the Left.
Oh shit.
Great.
I love it.
Talk about, I mean, from what I know about it, disparaging content. Is that the right word? No, off-putting, dark.
Unsettling.
Messed up.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Very exciting. Very exciting.
We'll be visiting that realm next week, Tim, and hopefully
Hopefully
you
I
too.
won't be sick.
Yeah, hopefully you won't be sick, and I hope you listening will join us for that as well.
Cool, dude. Well,
You find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
yep.
If you haven't already.
You can find us on Instagram at dismemberinghorror.com and on Twitter at dishorrorpod. And your handle is at Mayor McDuffie.
Yep.
And mine is at Tim Aslin. It's like,
on Instagram.
my name.
On Instagram, those are our handles.
Yeah. Cool dudes.
That's it. Yes, dudes, me, who's listening.
Yeah, all the dudes.
All the young dudes. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.